District where stray bullets took the life of a man who was out for a night at a restaurant with his wife and friends. The victim, who worked for the Peace Corps, gunned down near Logan Circle last night. Fox 5 Sierra Fox is live in Northwest where the man lost his life. Sierra?
Angie, these are absolutely heartbreaking circumstances. Metropolitan Police have identified the man who was shot and killed here on the sidewalk as 53-year-old Jeremy Black. They say he lived in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Right now, there's this growing memorial with flowers at the intersection of R Street and Johnson Avenue.
Growing memorial. This man was in the Peace Corps. And I don't think a lot of people, when I'm in my circles, they don't know what the Peace Corps is. Thankfully, I've been around the world a few times and I've met a lot of people. So I'm one of the few that actually know what the Peace Corps is. You talk to, you go man on the streets with a mic and a camera and you just stop every homeboy or homegirl you see and ask them what the Peace Corps is, and you might get a 99% fail rate on that question. But this guy was in the Peace Corps. He went over to countries, sometimes war-torn countries, famine countries, countries where just backwards in the villages. And help those people, man. And I know people always say, man, well, they the ones who started the problem, man. Every problem in the world ain't because of white people, man. Every problem that these countries is having, these little villages and these little regions out there in Asia somewhere or Africa somewhere or Central America, all their problems is not because of white supremacy. And you would know that if you traveled. A lot of their problems is because of, dare I say, things that they do. And yes, some of the things that have happened, but these people live backwards. I mean, you got kids walking around with distended bellies. You got all types of like strange, things they do and just backward stuff. They need vaccinations, not COVID, not the pandemic. I'm talking about the basic ones that all y'all got that's keeping y'all alive, that y'all act like y'all, and the ones that everybody act like they don't got. All those vaccinations you got when you was a kid that keep you from getting all the things that keep you from getting, they don't have those. People go over there and give. Peace Corps is an amazing thing, man. And just knowing that this guy was in the Peace Corps, I already know he was a great guy. And I know you're not supposed to say that about white people since 2020, but this one right here, he had to be. If you in the Peace Corps, just the places they go and the things they do, like, you have to be. You can't be a bad person and do that. Now, you could probably be a jerk or bitch or whatever in your personal life, but while you're doing that, you're a good person. And to know that this guy did that, he's a great guy, man. I implore all you guys to research. Just Google. In my day, I would have said research. Nowadays, I just say type Peace Corps, CORP, Peace, CORP in the Google search bar. Nowadays, it's easy. You don't have to go to the library and dig through the Dewey Decimal System. I'm about to tell y'all to research it. Just type Peace Corps in the Google search bar. But look at this memorial. This is sad, man. And to know this guy was killed by a stray bullet, and you know who shot that stray bullet. And in D.C., You already know what time it is. It's 1,000% chance that was the Sun Man. A Sun Man was the gun man. And look at this little memorial, man. This guy gets after all he's done in his life. These stories really tear me up, man.
Absolutely heartbreaking circumstances. Metropolitan Police have identified the man who was shot and killed here on this sidewalk as 53-year-old Jeremy Black. They say he lived in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Right now, there's this growing memorial with flowers at the intersection of R Street and Johnson Avenue in his honor. Fox 5 spoke with his father-in-law who flew in from Chicago this morning. He says Black and his wife were just out for a good time when the unthinkable happened.
He was a marvelous guy. He started out in the Peace Corps and ultimately became an executive director with the Peace Corps. He was a kind and gentle and charitable man, a great father, a great golfer who planned on spending his senior years on the golf circuit.
He tells us Black was leaving a restaurant in Logan Circle with his wife and another couple last night. They made a comment about hearing firecrackers. Next thing you know, the wife saw her husband hit with a bullet on the ground bleeding. This happened around 9:11 at night in the 14th Street corridor. Tons of evidence markers covered the ground on scene. Neighbors tell Fox 5 they heard about 20 rounds go off. A police report reveals a handgun and rifle were used. Today, the multiple bullet holes are visible, scattered around on cars and even apartment buildings. Police say Black, who got caught in the crossfire, was not the intended target. Black's father-in-law says he had two teenagers, a 17-year-old and 15-year-old. Right now, we're told Black's wife is on her way to pick one of them up from camp, and she'll have to share the devastating news about what happened to their dad.
Well, it's very difficult. She's now a woman with two children, and the suddenness of it all, it's very difficult.
This man's father is showing incredible grace and strength in such a... God. You see all those bullet holes? Those guys just shoot. Listen. And it could have just been a look or a prior beat. Oh, they go to dudes. And then it just kicks off, and then they just start shooting everywhere. And there's so many fireworks going on in DC right now that I could understand how they would have thought it was fireworks. All you hear is fireworks. That's all you hear. This is terrible, man.
Well, it's very difficult. She's now a woman with two children, and the suddenness of it all, it's very difficult.
We want to get straight to video just released by Metropolitan Police. Here you can see 4 suspects hopping out of this white vehicle of interest. There is a $25,000 reward on the line for any information that leads to an arrest. And
you know what the craziest part is, LeBron? These 4 guys were going to hunt a brother. They hit the white guy on accident. They was going to hunt them a brother. They was hunting. And like I told you, that's part of Sun culture. Sneaking up on people. Parking around the corner. Creeping around the side. And unloading on somebody. That's part of the culture. Y'all don't know these little guys. I'm not trying to sit here and act like I'm in the loop like that, because I'm damn sure ain't. I already told y'all where there's more than 3, I won't be. But just from the years of just being around, I know so many guys. And I've seen so many things. This is part of the culture. Parking the car around the corner or parking in the alley, getting out, walking up, surprising somebody, shooting them down, or shooting just everything in that area, getting back in the car and leaving and getting away with it. That's part of the culture. If you want to talk about culture, things that people do everywhere, like if you want to say we're a community, right? You have to look at the things we do everywhere we are. And everywhere we are, from sea to shining sea in this country, little groups of our young men sneak up on each other, or crowds of people or gatherings, and just shoot everybody that's right there. That's culture. That's what we do. That's like part of it.
Another innocent victim killed as a result of senseless gun violence. A father of two was shot as he was leaving a restaurant on busy 14th Street Northwest last night. Jeremy Black was a Columbia University graduate. He worked for the Peace Corps. News 4's Paul Wagner spoke with another person in that neighborhood who says a bullet narrowly missed hitting him in the head.
The gunfire was sudden, loud, and rapid, ripping into multiple parked cars and whizzing through two windows in a second-floor apartment.
Now imagine if that hits you. Look at what the damage it does. This is terrorism. This is terrorism, man. This is literally the definition of terrorism. And everybody's scared to call it out. Not even because they're scared of the thugs. Because the thugs don't care. They're going to keep doing what they do. They shooting at some people that they got beef with, or they shooting at somebody who did something to them. They don't care. They just living in their own world. These white people are scared to call this out because they don't want to be called a racist. They're willing to live with this happening. Because, listen, they shouldn't care about what happens in the black community. They don't live there. That's our responsibility. But now this stuff is happening in their community a lot lately. A lot. Like it used to be like you could go to the other side of 16th Street, or even though DuPont and Logan Circle is not on the other side of 16th Street. That used to be an area where, yeah, it'd be some riffraff around there. Yeah, it'd be some, street robberies and things like that. Little riffraff and things like that. But the shooting is going on the other side of 16th, and it's only going to get worse. And they shoot everything. Like, they don't shoot the person. They shoot everything. It's like a perimeter. They shoot everything around. And that's just what they do. Like, all of them, that's how they are. That's the game now. You just shoot everything that's right there.
Gunfire was sudden, loud, and rapid, ripping into multiple parked cars and whizzing through two windows in a second-floor apartment. Jeremy Black, a 10-year employee with the Peace Corps in its Inspector General's office, had just left a 14th Street restaurant when he was hit by the gunfire. Late this afternoon, D.C. police released video of four men getting out of a white Chevy Equinox, all of them walking away from the car before they're seen running back to the vehicle and driving off. Noah was on his bed with a laptop when a bullet flew by his head.
My window shattered and I kind of got covered in glass, and actually a bit of bullet shrapnel landed next to me.
Noah says he crawled to safety before looking out to see paramedics performing CPR on Mr. Black. Deborah Drake heard the gunfire last night. She says she's worried about the escalating violence in the city.
I refuse to be driven out of a city that I love and support by what I see as a temporary blip of insanity, and hopefully it'll be rectified soon.
The residents here on this block say the gunfire last night was wild, and you can just tell from where they hit. Look at the bullet in this car. Another bullet hit this car here, and this one down the block. And then take a look up in that apartment complex. A bullet went right through that window. A D.C. police report says officers found evidence of a rifle and a handgun being used. Detectives are now trying to find that white Chevy SUV. Jeremy Black was 53 years old. His mother-in-law, who declined to go on camera, says he was the father of two. D.C. Police Chief Robert Conti tells News 4 investigators are now going through footage from multiple surveillance cameras. He says people have a right to be safe in their community, and his investigators are now doing everything they can to find the people responsible. In the district, Paul Wagner, News 4.
There have been 93 murders in D.C. so far this year compared to 79 the same time last year. That's an increase of 18%.
What makes this story so crazy is that a little while ago, back in April, a man was struck by a stray bullet not too far from where this happened while sleeping in his Northwest D.C. home. And these are areas where this stuff didn't happen a lot. Like, you would rarely hear of shootings in these areas. And these guys don't live over there either. That's the crazy thing about it. It's not like these people moved into these areas. These people, the shooters, don't live in these areas. The clubs they go to aren't in these areas. They're a few blocks up. Actually, if you want to say, you could probably say they live around it. I'm not going to say they don't live in these areas, but it's not hood. It's got spots, but it's not hood. And it's just crazy, man. You just didn't have this right there. DC's crazy because you can have 2 blocks. You can go 2 blocks and it's a different world. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to talk about, yes, they live in this area, but not like on these streets where this is happening. A man was struck in his back by a stray bullet while sleeping in his Northwest D.C. home on Thursday, according to D.C. police. D.C. police dispatch was called to the home in the 600 block of Farragut Street Northwest after a man awoke from a loud noise he heard and felt a pain in his back. The man's wife also heard the noise, as well as another person who was in the basement of the home, and rushed upstairs to see what had happened. Not knowing that it was a gunshot, the man's wife looked around her home and found her husband in a separate bed. She found him shot and in pain, according to the police report. The man does not appear to have had life-threatening injuries from the shooting and was listed as conscious and breathing. No further information has been reported on the shooting. So this is terrorism. Like, and these people can't even... It's one thing we used to it in our community. It's us doing it. So it happens in our community. It's us doing it. It's been happening forever. It used to be called the murder capital. Nobody cares. Everybody's worried about George Floyd. These people literally care more about George Floyd than they do anybody who dies in D.C. So, but now these people, these white people, this is not their kids. They say this guy's got a 17 and 15. Like, his kids are not doing this. It's not little roving bands of white teens running around doing this stuff. You know who's doing this. And these people, as you heard the woman say, you know they're going to continue to be like, and that's on them. Fine. If they like it, I love it. Get in the comment section. Like, subscribe, donate. Peace. I'm out.